Yeah, I just watched the Eddie Hearn interview, with the true Geordie. Yeah, did you watch that? It was quite a good one. Eddie Hearn and the true Geordie. It was quite interesting to listen to. Do you know what I mean? True Geordie asked Eddie Hearn a few little questions, to get him to explain Joshua's silly little actions, in his fight with Usyk. Like when he was on the way to the ring and he was fucking begging Clifton Mitchell for help, didn't he? Trying to get some kind of tag team going on. That's some baby thing, innit? Joshua was fucking petrified of Usyk, wasn't he? He was desperately reaching, wasn't he? Reaching out to Clifton Mitchell for help. You know what I mean? What do you think of that? He's fucking petrified, wasn't he, Joshua? And it's shown in the fight, didn't it? And like True Geordie asked Eddie Hearn, about fucking, Joshua, he got interviewed by that crew. And Bentleg said, what was the game plan going in? And Joshua said, ask the team. You know what I mean? That's what he said, didn't he? But it's like, why are you fucking saying that? It's like he's trying to blame the team, like saying, it's not my fault. I fucked up with the tactics because of the team. Don't ask me what the game plan was. Ask the team. But you should fucking know what the tactics were. You've been preparing for Usyk for about 4 months, so it's not like they've only told you the tactics on the day of the fight. You should know what the tactics were, so why are you trying to put it on the team? But that's kind of what he did, didn't he, Joshua? So he's trying to put the blame on somebody else, innit? It's a bit like when he did that dodgy speech, at the Black Lives Matter event. And he was getting slagged off by a lot of white people who were saying, you're fucking racist. Saying don't buy from their shops. And when Joshua was getting slandered, Joshua, he said, I didn't write the speech. It's not my speech. I was just reading it for somebody. It's nothing to do with me. Don't blame me. Blame the person who wrote the speech. So that's kind of what he did in the interview with Coogan, didn't he? So he's trying to put the blame on somebody else, innit? And he tried to blame it on his team, didn't he, Joshua? Just fucking man up, innit? Just fucking man up and accept responsibility for your own fuck-ups. Stop trying to blame the team, yeah? Stop trying to blame somebody else for writing the script that you read out at the Black Lives Matter event, yeah? Just fucking own up to your own fuck-ups, man. Yeah, you got messed up by Usyk. Just accept it, it's your fault. You got about 4 head trainers, yeah. That's what he said, didn't he? In his interview with Coogan, he was like, I've got this guy who's my head trainer. Then I've got this guy who's my head trainer. Then I've got this guy who's my head trainer. Yeah? So he's all over the place, isn't he? So he's gone to America, to some gangster area, Crenshaw, yeah, to try and become tough. Joshua said that he's inspired by Larry Hoover. Yeah? But Larry Hoover, he's a gang member, from Chicago, who's doing 200 years in prison, for murder. So, Joshua saying that he's inspired by Larry Hoover. You're not really, are you? Your performance against Usyk didn't look like you was inspired by a fucking murderer who's doing 200 years in prison. Yeah? For murder. So when Joshua said that he's inspired by Big Meech and Larry Hoover, the murderer, he's not really, is he? It didn't fucking look like that when you was in there with Usyk, a cruiserweight. When you was on edge and you was fucking frightened. You was scared of your own shadow. You was petrified. You was fucking begging Clifton Mitchell for help. Yeah? Trying to get some tag team going on. Yeah? Some WWF thing. You know what I mean? So it's alright saying you're inspired by Larry Hoover. That's what he said, didn't he? And he tried to look into the camera. To try and be all deep. Yeah? But he wasn't looking into the camera, was he, Joshua? He looked at the wrong part of the camera. He didn't look down the lens. But that was his intention, to look down the lens and try and speak to our souls. And try and get all deep and philosophical and poetic. Trying to give off this murderer image like Larry Hoover, who's doing 200 years in prison. But Joshua, he didn't look at the right part of the camera, did he? So he fucked up, didn't he? He fucked up, man. He was trying to talk to our souls, but it didn't work because he didn't look down the lens at us. He was looking at some bullshit, wasn't he, Joshua? So he fucked up again, you know, like he did against Usyk. So he's fucking reaching, innit? He's kind of on some bullshit right now, Joshua, isn't he? So yeah, Joshua, I don't know what he's gonna do. You know, he's kind of been scouting a new trainer, hasn't he? You know, all these American trainers, but I don't think it's enough time. You know what I mean? When he gets in the ring, yeah, with Usyk, you know, in a few months, he's gonna be all over the place. He's gonna be like have conflicting advice in his head because he's been trained by Robert McCracken for about 10 years, hasn't he? He's had Rob McCracken's voice in his head for 10 years. So, you know, just to switch to a new trainer like that, you know, in a few months, it's not enough time to, you know, like settle in to his new trainer's ways. It's a bit like Naz, innit? You know, when he left Brendan and then he went to go and train with Emmanuel Stewart, who was trying to get him to box all fucking basic. Emmanuel Stewart's a good trainer, innit? But like the style that Naz had, it was totally different, you know, to the style that Emmanuel Stewart was trying to get Naz to box like. So it didn't really work, and he was kind of all over the place wanting Naz, and he kind of got fucked up by Barrera. He was kind of caught in between styles, wasn't he? Yeah, he was caught in between styles. He was trained by Brendan from the age of 7. 7 years old, a youngster, up until about 27. So to train with Brendan for 20 years, yeah, learning from Brendan, you know, going on the pads with Brendan, you know, with a black painter and decorator, turning his back on that action. Those pad workouts, Naz done them from the age of 7 till about 27, so that's 20 years. So to then go to Emmanuel Stewart, who tried to teach him a different kind of style, it kind of caused Naz to fuck up, didn't it? And he got messed up by Barrera. So Joshua, it's not long enough, is it, you know, to switch from Rob McCracken, who's been training him for 10 years, to a new trainer. He's going to be like a fucking rabbit, you know, in the headlights. You know, in the rematch with Usyk. He's going to get fucked up again, isn't he, Joshua? He's going to get fucking messed up. But, you know, Eddie Hearn on the True Geordie podcast, Eddie Hearn said, Joshua, I think he's going to beat Usyk in the rematch. But that's just wishful thinking, isn't it? You know, his cash cow, fucking Joshua. You know, it really affected Eddie Hearn, didn't it? You know, when Joshua got beat, you know, he was like punching the walls. He had all bruises on his knuckles. Yeah, you see them little bruises on his knuckles, on each knuckle. So Eddie Hearn has been punching the walls, you know, since Joshua got smacked up by Usyk. It really got to him, didn't it? And you seen that, you know, when that fucking guy called Eddie a pussy. He got all emotional and he wanted to fucking have it out with the guy, but you know, when Eddie Hearn realised that the security had left, you know, Eddie Hearn quickly walked off, didn't he? Eddie was acting all tough at first, wasn't he? Saying, "What you say? What you say? What you say? You shit yourself now, you pussy." You know, and then Eddie Hearn quickly realised that the security had left, and then he quickly walked off, didn't he? And he started punching the walls, and you can see that on his knuckles, can't you? So yeah, Eddie Hearn saying that Joshua's going to win the rematch against Usyk. He's not, is it? It's just fucking wishful thinking, innit, from Eddie Hearn. Joshua's lost that killer instinct since he got concussed, you know, in the spar before the Ruiz first fight. Joshua hasn't got that killer instinct, so he's trying to like mention Larry Hoover, who's a convicted murderer doing 200 years in prison. You know, trying to get into that gangster mode. Yeah, you know, Joshua, he's been posting videos, you know, on his Snapchat of him listening to Tupac. You know, trying to rap like Tupac. You know, you can kind of see that there, can't you? You know, he's like sticking his fingers up, you know, trying to be like Tupac. But we're not having it at all, are we? We're not having any of it, are we? We're we don't put Joshua on the same level as Tupac, do we? Even though Joshua's obviously trying to mimic Tupac there, you know, sticking his fingers up like that. You know, posting videos on his Snapchat of him rapping, listening to Tupac. You know, it's not convincing, is it? We're not having any of it, are we? We're not having any of it. You know, trying to get into that gangster mode. You know, sticking his fingers up like that. You know, dissing Bob Arum. You know, saying fuck Bob Arum. You know, being all aggressive to a 90-year-old Bob Arum. You know, it's alright saying fuck Bob Arum. But you didn't really show that aggression against Usyk, did you? So, or even me, when you stood in front of me, when you came up to me, you didn't show that aggression to me, did you? But you want to diss a 90-year-old Bob Arum, saying fuck Bob Arum. I don't know, it just shows where his fucking mind's at. He's scared of his own shadow, innit? You know, and True Geordie kind of questioned Joshua's heart, didn't he? You know, saying that he wasn't willing to, like, pull the trigger, you know, to defend his titles.
Well, you're risking your world title by not pulling the trigger. And when he says in the podcast, you know, his interview, I watched, you know, Fury versus Wilder, and they were blowing out their arse by round 3. It's like, yeah, but they were trying to kill each other. You weren't trying to kill Usyk. You weren't. You know what I mean? You just weren't. So that's heavyweight boxing. When you're trying to rip each other's head off, it will just it will be who wants it more.
Yeah, that's true, innit? That's a good point from True Geordie. You know, it's all right, Joshua dissing Beyonce Wilder and Tyson Fury, saying, oh, they were knackered after 3 rounds. But you know, if Joshua went all out like they did against Usyk, you know, he probably still would have lost, but at least he would have fucking had a better chance. You know, just fucking took it to him and tried to mess him up. So it's alright dissing Beyonce Wilder and Tyson Fury, but as far as I'm concerned, both of those two, yeah, have come out of that trilogy higher up than Joshua has after his fight with Usyk. I rate Beyonce Wilder and Tyson higher than Joshua, yeah. At least they gave it their fucking all. Yeah. You know, Joshua was fucking petrified, wasn't he? Begging Clifton Mitchell for help. So he can't be fucking dissing Tyson or Beyonce Wilder. But yeah, it was a good video, wasn't it? A nice little chat, you know, between Eddie Hearn and the True Geordie. It was quite good to listen to, wasn't it? Yeah, you know the True Geordie, yeah? He said to Eddie Hearn, why wasn't Paulie Malignaggi given the job as a pundit, you know, for DAZN? Because he's like kind of known, innit, you know, as being like the best sort of commentator, you know, and pundit in boxing. So True Geordie said to Eddie Hearn, why wasn't Paulie Malignaggi, you know, given the job at DAZN as a pundit? You know, and Eddie Hearn, he gave some little bullshit answer, didn't he? But you know what it is? You know, Paulie Malignaggi, yeah. You know that Devin Haney, you know, he said one time that he'll never lose to a white man. You know, that's what he said, didn't he? That Devin Haney, you know, trying to be like Bernard Hopkins. You know, when Hopkins said that he'll never lose to a white man. So this fucking Devin Haney, he's trying to be like Bernard Hopkins, innit? Saying that he'll never lose to a white man. That's what Hopkins said, didn't he? And then he got beat by Calzaghe. So it kind of backfired, didn't it? But that's what this Devin Haney was saying. You know, he was being all unoriginal, you know, trying to copy Bernard Hopkins. You know, he can't think of his own little sayings, so he's just trying to copy Hopkins, innit? Devin Haney. So this Paulie Malignaggi, yeah, he was like saying, oh yeah, Devin Haney, it's alright saying that you'll never lose to a white man, but you know, white boxers are starting to take over boxing. You know, it used to be black African Americans, you know, who used to dominate the sport of boxing, but the shift has kind of moved over to like white boxers, you know, Eastern European white boxers. So what do you think of that? Do you think that's true or what? I don't know. I ain't got time to sit here and talk about every single ethnicity and race of every single top boxer there's been in boxing history, but it's kind of been a mixed bag, hasn't it? You know, you got blacks, whites, you know, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Panamanians, you know, like Duran. So it's been a mixed bag, hasn't it? So, you know, Devin Haney trying to be like Bernard Hopkins is fucking unoriginal, innit? So yeah, I don't know where the shift is. I don't know which boxers are the best, blacks or whites or what. It's almost irrelevant, innit? It's almost irrelevant. You know, if a fight's good, it's good, innit? Who cares if the person's black or white? Who gives a fuck? It's irrelevant, innit? If a fight's good, it's good. You know, all this dumb race bullshit. Yeah, fucking Devin Haney, Bernard Hopkins. So Paulie Malignaggi, you know, he said that there's been a shift from black African American boxers to the white boxers. You know, so he kind of got dropped, you know, by some TV networks. You know, you can't say anything anymore. You know, anything racial that you say, you get kind of cancelled, don't you? You know, in this world that we're living in, this fucking silly, politically correct world that we're living in. So I think he got dropped, you know, by Showtime. Yeah, so I think DAZN, they're not really willing to take him on either. But yeah, it was a good chat between True Geordie and Eddie Hearn. It was quite good, wasn't it? It was quite interesting. There's a bit of chemistry there, isn't there, between those two. I think Coogan's a bit jealous. You know, the chemistry between True Geordie and Eddie Hearn. He's probably jealous, isn't he, Coogan? He's probably a bit bitter, isn't he? You know, he wants the whole pie. He's probably bitter, isn't he? I think Coogan's jealous of True Geordie on a whole. Like, did you see that video of Coogan dissing the True Geordie?
Hello, Coogan. How you doing, alright?
Not even looking at him, is he? Not even looking at him.
Honestly, love the chat. Thank you, man.
Well, mate. I'm all right, mate. I couldn't have done that. Fucking hell.
If you ever need us,
Oh, mate, I need
show
you
me
again,
the money,
100%.
Did you see what just happened there? That was fucking disrespectful behaviour from Coogan. You know that event there, that was like the KSI Logan Paul event. And True Geordie went up to Coogan afterwards, you know, and gave him a lot of praise for his channel. And Coogan was like, yeah, thanks, you know, and like started like pointing the camera in a different direction. He probably wasn't even looking at True Geordie. You know, when True Geordie was saying, I love the channel. I love your channel, Coogan. Honestly, I love it. Coogan was like, yeah, thanks. And he was like, wasn't even looking at him, was he? He was like pointing the camera, you know, trying to look for Eddie Hearn and Vidal Riley, you know, when True Geordie was paying Coogan compliments. Coogan was just like, yeah, thanks. You know, that was fucking disrespectful, wasn't it? You know, when someone says, I love your channel, you're supposed to say, yeah, thanks for that. You know, I like your channel as well. Even if you don't, yeah, you just say that, don't you? You know, just to be nice and friendly. It's just common decency, innit? You don't just say, yeah, thanks, you know what I mean? And you know that disrespect from Coogan, you know what I think it's down to? You know Coogan, yeah? Coogan said that the two people that he most wants to interview on his channel is Ian Wright and Ricky Gervais. Well, True Geordie's interviewed both of those two, and Coogan hasn't interviewed any of them. So that's probably where the bitterness stems from, you know, and the disrespect, you know, and the hate towards True Geordie, you know, disrespecting him like that, like not even looking at him, you know, when he's paying him compliments. You know, when he's paying Coogan compliments, he was just like looking away, wasn't he? Trying to look for Eddie Hearn and Vidal Riley, you know, it's disrespectful. And the thing is, yeah, you know, the True Geordie, he's fucking bigger than Coogan. Yeah? The True Geordie, he's got nearly 2 million subscribers on YouTube. You know, Coogan, he's got about 700,000 subscribers. So that's a nice amount, innit? But he's not on the same level as True Geordie. On Instagram, yeah. You know, Coogan, he's got about 155,000 followers, yeah? True Geordie's got 280,000 followers on Instagram. So he's got nearly double what Coogan's got. So he outdoes him. You know, he's got a bigger channel, man. He's got a bigger platform, a bigger profile. Do you know what I mean? He's interviewed big names, Ricky Gervais and Ian Wright, you know, who Coogan desperately wants to interview. You know, but he hasn't, has he? You know, Coogan, he went to Ricky Gervais' stand-up show the other day, you know, to try and get an interview with him, but Gervais was having none of it, was he? you know, but he got interviewed by True Geordie, didn't he? So it's kind of causing Coogan to be a bit bitter, you know, and resentful, and you kind of seen that disrespect. He couldn't look True Geordie in the eye, could he? You could tell he's fucking bitter, you know, because he got the Ricky Gervais interview. And Ricky Gervais is quite big time, you know. He's got the highest grossing stand-up tour ever, yeah, in history. He's got the fastest selling tour in history. So he's big time, innit, Ricky Gervais, you know, and True Geordie got the interview, didn't he? But Coogan didn't, did he? So, yeah, Ricky Gervais, you know what I mean? You know, called the contradiction Frotch, you know, when he was getting ready to fight George Groves in front of 80,000 people at Wembley. The contradiction Frotch said to Ricky Gervais on Twitter, "I would feel honoured and privileged if you would sit ringside at my fight with George Groves in front of 80,000 people at Wembley." You know, that's what he tweeted, Gervais. And Gervais was like, "Oh, thanks for that, but I've got a stand-up comedy gig in New York. But thanks for the offer." So, you know, Gervais, he's like really, really in demand, isn't he? Getting offered ringside seats, you know, for the Frotch Groves rematch in front of 80,000 people at Wembley. You know, he's got the fastest, highest grossing stand-up tour ever. Yeah? And he's giving time to True Geordie, but he's not doing the same with Coogan, is he? And Coogan's a bit upset about it, isn't he? You know how he wants the whole pie. But yeah, that was a bit disrespectful from Coogan, wasn't it? He was a bit fucking disrespectful, wasn't it? But yeah, shout out to the True Geordie. You know, he gave me £100, didn't he? You know, on my YouTube live. He gave me £100, you know, which is quite good of him. So yeah, I like him. But yeah, I'm just about to watch the Canelo Caleb Plant fight. I still haven't seen it yet, you know. I went out, you know, into town and had a few drinks, you know, when the fight was on. So I missed the fight. So I'm going to catch up on the fight now, you know, and then do a YouTube live, you know, reviewing the fight. So, yeah, I'm going to do that, you know, but thanks for tuning in again, yeah? Yeah, thanks for that.